There we go. Oh, hello. You might be wondering what I'm doing in the beating heart of our corporation, the server room at Skyline HQ. Oh, it's really noisy here, so let me go explain outside, alright? So the video signal was having some issues and I had to do a spot of maintenance in the server room back there. But I'm actually done with that. I changed the patch cable and now I need to make sure everything goes back to the fiber network and doesn't use the satellite. So there we go. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What is this? Video editing? Movie magic? But no, with a single push of the button on my own phone, I just told the entire room, the operators, that the maintenance is done. I've unmasked all the elements and I've set the signal back from satellite to fiber. Now, I used user-defined APIs to do that, and I have an expert waiting in here who's going to show me and you how you can do that, how you can change your own phone into a remote control for everything DataMiner. So, without further ado, I think I hear some rumbling, so let's put on our hats and let's go get empowered. Hello and welcome to Bringing the Thunder. We are about to get empowered by my expert guest here who knows all about user-defined APIs. As we saw previously, I'm a maintenance engineer, at least sometimes, sure. And I want to start or stop a maintenance with a single push of the button on my phone. And Thomas here is going to explain to us how we can all do that. Now, Thomas, maybe let's start with who are you and what do you do in Skyline?
Yes, so hello, I'm Thomas Heesbrecht. I've been working here for 5 years.
Okay.
So I initially started working on the ticketing application. Then over time I also started working on the automation module.
Okay.
And then also like jobs and DataMiner object model, and now user-defined APIs. So this is like my expertise.
You've had already quite a story there. So you've gone from you starting on already quite a big project, and now you've got like this pièce de résistance, the user-definable APIs, which I'm personally very enthusiastic about. I use them at my own house, actually. I have my domotic set up with DataMiner, and I'm like, close the screens, open the screens, turn off and on the lights. And in fact, turning off and on the light is going to be one of the things we'll do, but not just that. Because when I was pretending to be a maintenance engineer, I clicked the button and I said, now I want to mask all the elements, so the alarming is gone, and I also want to change the signal to go from fiber network to satellite dish and satellites, to space. And I also want a light to go on so that the operators in their, I was going to say operating room, but that's not it, in their NOC, I suppose, they can immediately see that the maintenance engineer has started. So all of those actions, and I want to do it with my phone.
That's definitely possible.
Click a button. Okay, so I'm very enthusiastic, as you can tell, and I want to see how we do that. For the people who are watching, you can follow along with this up to a point. We don't have you won't have this beautiful light at your house or at your company, unless you do it just a Shelly Wi-Fi, and we have a driver for it, a connector. So, but you can follow along, try and make the script as far as you can with whatever you have available. And okay, I suppose we'll dig right in.
Yeah.
So Thomas, what do we do first? What am I looking at?
So the first thing that we need to do is actually create the logic. So the logic of a user-defined API is actually contained within an automation script. So we need to create an automation script that creates or contains our logic. So I'll start off by opening Visual Studio. This is the best approach to writing your code.
Right.
It gives you all the possibilities of the pipelines and things like that.
Yeah. I think we'll definitely have a few future episodes, Bringing the Thunder, where we really dig into the DIS extension that you're probably going to use, automation script development. So hold on to your horses. We'll get to that in a future one. But if you have all of that, we can follow along already.
Yes.
And so first things first, I guess, making an automation script in Visual Studio.
Correct. So I'll click on create a new project, and then we're going to use the automation script solution. You can also search it here. Yep. So the DataMiner automation script solution that will allow us to create our automation scripts.
Right.
So
if you are following along for that one, you will need Visual Studio 2022. If you have an older version, 2019, you can still do that if you have DIS installed, but you will need to
open a Visual Studio with code. So don't click create new project, just without code, and then go to files. And then in there, you will be able to create the new solution. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, indeed, that's an important detail. So in Visual Studio 2022, you get this UI where you can choose your solution name. In this case, we're going to create a maintenance API. So I suggest that we call it maintenance API. The rest can be remain default. And then if we need to provide our automation script name, we can pick the same maintenance API. An author is also useful, so we can track who created our API script, and then click the create button. And now our solution will be set up. It takes a few seconds, but eventually we will be able to double click our script and scroll down. And here we see the famous class, the script class with the run method.
Indeed. So that's the beginning of our automation script, which is going to contain the logic that I suppose our phone will then communicate with.
Correct.
Nice.
So this is the main run entry point, as some of you probably have seen with normal automation scripts, but we don't need it. For user-defined APIs, we need a special one. So we can remove it here.
Okay.
And we can add it quite simply by using the snippets feature. So if we right-click and go down to snippets, insert snippet, we will be able to go to this, then automation script, and eventually create user-defined API.
Right.
So if you select that one, it will already completely configure your script to contain all includes and everything you need, including the most important thing, this special entry point. So it's a special method which contains two arguments, an engine object and then the request data, and it has an entry point attribute on it as well.
Okay. And the snippets, just as a quick tip for the fancy programmers out there, there's a shortcut. If you do Control K and X, you can also immediately get into the snippet menu. There you go.
It works.
It works. It just works.
Interesting tidbit.
There we go. So now we've got this entry point.
Yes.
How do we go from there?
Now, here you can see a comment which kind of says add custom code here. But the first thing that we're going to do is fix our errors, because you can see that some of the items have some squiggly lines under it. We can do that quite easily by upgrading our NuGet package. So the reason why it's squiggly is because these types, these of the quite recently introduced user-defined APIs feature, are not available in the current version of the NuGet package. So if we right-click on our project and go to Manage NuGet Packages, we will see here that there's a dev automation package, and it's currently using 10.106, which is a bit too old for our use. We need to upgrade it to at least 10.3.6. That's the first version where the types are readily available and where the user-defined APIs feature is usable.
So what was 10.3.6?
Yeah, 10.
Okay, so the minimum is the 10.3.6 agent, but anything up than that also works. So
yeah, indeed.
Great. Okay.
We can update it and then apply the changes.
And now we'll have access to all the libraries that you guys have created to be able to create such a user-defined API.
If you go back to the script, you can indeed see that the errors are now gone.
Yes,
so all types are recognized.
No more squiggly lines.
Yes, we don't like those as developers.
Never, never.
So we can replace this placeholder with our actual logic.
Yes.
So if I understood the ID correctly, that we want to have two kind of states, a start and stop state for the maintenance.
Yes.
So
I want to start it, and then I also want to stop it, of course.
Quite straightforward. There's a few different ways of doing it, but today we're going to use the body. So within an HTTP request, you can have a body, and we can check it whether it contains start or stop. So it's quite simple, quite straightforward. Yeah, quite simple. The body is available in this request data part. So here you can have the request data, which contains every thing related to your request. So you can quite easily use that. So we will have an if condition here, request data dot, and then raw body.
Okay, the raw body is the raw contents that is going to be sent through HTTP in the background.
Yeah, correct.
From then the phone or whatever device, technically.
Whatever device, anything that can send an HTTP request can trigger our API. That's the power of user-defined APIs. It's very compatible with a lot of things.
Yeah, because right now the use case is kind of, making a remote control of your phone, which is fun and very useful. But I think a lot of the use cases are more about device to device, software to software. So this allows a different software package to talk with DataMiner and do things on DataMiner. So really interconnects your entire digital environment through whatever you want to write. So, okay, so we've gotten the body. So we're doing an if check.
Yeah, we're doing an if check. We're doing an equals here. So you're going to check if this contains start. And also quite important, we'll do it invariant culture ignore case. That means that, you can have start with a capital S, but we're going to ignore that. That ensures compatibility.
Yeah, makes it a bit easier too if we've set up our phone and we forget, was it capital casing or lower casing?
Exactly. Always a good thing to remember. So we have the one for the start. We can copy and paste this one for the stop as well. Like that. And then just change this to stop. And now we have our API trigger output. So that's something that I didn't mention yet, but this is how we will return information whether or not our script passed and if something went wrong. So in this case, if it's not start nor stop, then the user has provided the wrong input. So we want to tell the user that. So we can change here in the response body, wrong inputs, for example. And we can also change the status code. So the status code is like, the famously 404 not found.
Yeah. Well, usually you hope to see 200 okay.
Yeah, indeed. That's the normal one. But in this case, wrong input. So we can actually use the bad request option here. So there's an enum status code available to easily kind of use the most common ones. So we're going to return 400 bad requests because the user provided a bad request.
Perfect.
Okay, so now we have start and stop. To make things clean, we'll also make a separate method. So public void start. That will contain our logic for the start. And then within here, we can actually call the start.
You're probably going to want to pass along engine, I guess, or isn't that engine?
Yes, correct.
No.
We will indeed need the engine object as well. So I can already add that one.
Because that's the one we're going to use to be able to actually perform actions on our agent, I'm guessing.
We will need, we will use the engine to interact with the DataMiner itself.
Yeah.
After everything for our start case is run, we also want to return something to the user. So in this case, we can also copy paste our API trigger output return here.
Yeah, just whatever you do with the return value there, if it needs to be the API trigger output, but then that will get sent back automatically to the
initiator
client,
of the HTTP requests. Indeed. So in this case, it's fine.
Okay.
We have started the maintenance, so we want to say that switching to the satellite has worked.
Yes.
So we can say maintenance started, switched to satellite. Oh, that's probably written like that. And then instead of bad requests, we can put it on OK. So that's a 200 OK.
Yeah.
Something that you return when everything was fine. Something similar in the other case, we can again copy paste this one here.
Stop.
But instead a stop. And then the message itself can also be changed to stop, switch to main connection.
Okay.
Okay. And now we still need to create our stop method as well.
And then the logic.
And then, of course, the logic itself. So this is kind of a bit of fluff to ensure...
well, it's the framework, right?
Yeah, the
it's
framework.
Like you've built the basics, if checks to do A or B, pretty much start or stop. And now we need to actually perform some actions on our agent. And I believe some of those is going to be turning on this light or turning it off. We have an element on that agent that handles that. The other one is going to be masking.
Yeah, we can actually show that actually. So if we go to the DataMiner agent we're going to use, we see we have
some switches there for the fiber networks and stuff like that.
So this is the modulator or demodulator, and then our lights. So
So the new type modulator will for our satellite signal. Currently, it's probably not sending. I hope it's not. But then, if we enable maintenance mode, it can switch to that. We can do our work, and when I'm done, I click, and it'll go back.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So let's start adding our actual logic. So I believe the first thing was masking two elements.
Yes, let's mask some of those elements.
I think it was the Arista elements that was the first one.
Sure, the Arista switch.
And
so
we
Cisco
can
Nexus.
do engine.find elements, and then the name of the element, Arista switch. There we go. And then it's very easy to mask them. You can just do mask and provide a reason. So you can say maintenance started.
Okay, and do the same then for the. So this is the Arista and then the Cisco one.
I can indeed do the same for the Cisco one. So again, engine dot.
I already forgot the name.
Find element. Yeah, we need the name of the element as well.
My memory.
I think it was Cisco Nexus.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's mask those two.
Cisco Nexus. And then again, exactly the same thing, mask, and then maintenance started. There we go. I believe there was then a parameter set that we need to do to enable the demodulator.
Yes.
If I recall correctly.
We need to send the signal through the satellite, so we need to enable the demodulator.
So let's again do find element, but this time the demodulator, let me check the name of that one. So new tech modulator.
Yes.
It's called new tech modulator. Hope I didn't have any typos here. And then we can do a set parameter. And then we need the bit or the name of the parameter. I don't know which one it was exactly again.
Well, we can have a look in the age in the element. Then.
So new tech modulator.
I think it was under DVB modulator and then there.
Modulator transmit. So I believe we can just do it like that. Modulator transmit. And then I assume put it on 1 to enable it.
Yes. And then there's the little light here.
Yeah.
So for that one, I think the element was called the
I believe
status
it was
light.
Indicator light.
I think status maybe.
Who will be right? Status light. You were
right. And I was joking about my memory, but no. Maybe just because I wrote that one, so I remember that one.
Yes, indeed.
I also remember the parameter name, so we don't need to look that up. I think it's but.
Yes.
For button. Don't get the wrong idea, guys. So but underscore and then toggle light.
Toggle light like that.
Yes.
Okay. And we can also put this on 1, I
Correct.
assume.
That's a toggle button. So that will either turn it off or on.
Okay. So we have our 4 actions.
And then the opposite.
We can now do the opposite. I'll completely copy paste it here. Because we want to do the same actions, but just with other values. So instead of masking the Arista element, we're going to unmask it. And in this case, we don't also need to provide a reason. We can just unmask it.
Yes.
Same for the Cisco one. So unmask. And then the set parameter is a 0. And toggle light, I assume
just
since it's toggle,
yes.
it's again 1.
Just one again, it should turn it off and on.
Interesting to keep in mind how the protocol works to know what's going on.
So pretty much that's a script, right?
Yep, that's pretty much it. So we just have 2 if conditions and then the logic that executes those.
So now we're going to publish that and it'll get put on the agent then, I suppose?
Yes, correct. So normally when we go to the XML here, we have a publish button on the top left. And then I see the DMA that we want to publish our script to. So that's also a feature of this. And hopefully, if everything goes right, the script will be deployed.
You should never say that when you're giving a demo. Hopefully, whenever.
Hopefully.
Because that's taunting Murphy, eh?
I don't immediately see it. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Okay.
So connection came in for
you
this.
You were worried for a minute.
Yeah, I was a bit worried. I
heard his heart skip a beat.
So normally, we have the maintenance API script, so that's exactly what we need.
But it's not a user-defined API yet. It's just an automation script.
Yeah, it's correct. So for DataMiner, this is just an automation script. It's not marked as a user-defined API yet. We still need to do that.
Okay.
So I'm going a bit quickly over this here, but if you open the script within automation, you will see a configure API button. There are a few conditions though, so you need DataMiner 10.3.6 at minimum.
Yes.
And you also need to remember that you need to have the permissions. So within System Center, you need to make sure that the user-defined API permissions are enabled for that specific user. Otherwise, you won't see this button.
Right. So in the System Center, under your users and groups, make sure that you've enabled those permissions.
Correct.
Great.
So we see the button and we can click it to configure our API. This will open a separate window. And now we can enter our URL. So this is the URL that we want our API to be available on.
Yeah.
I think in our case, it makes sense to call it maintenance.
Sure.
It's already in use. Oh, probably already because of testing, we can call it maintenance action. Quite
Perfect.
realistic as well, I guess.
Sure.
So this is also interesting to see that you can kind of have the forward slashes to kind of group certain APIs together and kind of convey the message. It's always a good idea to have a good and meaningful URL. So when looking at it or when using it, you know what it actually does. Okay, so we have added our URL. You have a description. It's completely optional. If you have lots of APIs, it's nice to have a good description so you know what's going on. But in our case, we'll skip it. And then the last thing that we need to do is provide a token. So you can see there's already a generated token here in the system, but we'll create a new one.
Yeah, because if someone's following along up to this part, then you're going to have to want to create such a token.
So you can do that by clicking the new token button. This will open a separate window where you can optionally provide a name, but we're going to leave it blank. It will generate a name just like the one that was already in the system.
All right.
Like that. So we can see our secret here. So that's the most important thing. You have to keep in mind that this is like the password to your API.
Okay, so don't steal this, guys.
No.
This is ours.
Yeah.
You have your own. So, okay, we have that. So we need to make sure we put that, maybe copy paste it temporarily in a notepad or something.
Yeah, it's always recommended to indeed make sure it's somewhere safe. Ideally,
a password manager.
A password manager or something like that.
But for now, we're just going to use it once. So maybe.
So we don't lose it.
Just don't save the file. That's fine.
Yeah, indeed. There we go. I'll keep it in my clipboard as well, just to be sure.
So now we've got a token that will be used to authenticate. We've got this ready to go. So I guess you just click deploy and then the user-defined API is deployed on the system.
Indeed. If we click create, now the API is created and is available via the endpoint.
So now any device that's also on the same network and that can access the agent can send that maintenance, maintenance/action with start or stop, and that will trigger that entire flow.
Yep, correct.
Okay, so now I'm guessing the next step is then the other side of things. I think for a lot of demos, I've always seen it done with Postman.
Yes, indeed.
But
that's a quite common API testing tool. So we have loads of others, but those are a bit boring, baby.
Postman. I've seen enough of that guy. I don't want a Postman anymore. So let's do the phone thing. Yes. Let's try and do a setup on the phone.
So I have an app here on my phone. I'll start my screen recording so you guys can also follow along.
Yes.
So I have an app here called HTTP Shortcuts.
Right.
If I open it up, you can see I already have 3 of them for my lighting at home. So I actually already used that.
Oh, great. Well, you're also using Domotics at home. I didn't actually know that. That's great. And using the same app. By the way, this is on an Android device. I'm not sure. I think on an iPhone, there's something similar built in to do shortcuts like that, an HTTP send request.
It's quite a common thing, so I believe that
should be able to find it. I don't know which one, but for an Android, I also use this one. It's a free one. It's really good. So HTTP shortcuts, right? So we want to add something in there.
Indeed. So at the bottom we can add a new one. So we add a regular HTTP shortcut, and we call it start maintenance.
Yeah.
Like that. And then we need to provide some information. So we do an HTTP post.
Yes.
We actually did not specify it within our script that we want a specific post, but this is the most logical thing.
Yeah, it's going to send data to do some actions.
Yeah. And then we need to provide our URL. So in this case, it's the host name of the
agent.
The agent.
In this case, it's mine. So that'll be my agent.
I think I added an L too much here.
Yes, it's just Jans.
Yes, there we go. And then I can provide a slash, and then we need to provide the main part of the URL, so that will always be the same. So API /custom.
Okay, so that one is important for everyone to know. It's always API /custom. So
that's
API /custom.
That's where it starts.
And then it's your thing.
Yeah.
So API /custom maintenance action.
Yeah, I can double check in my API. It was indeed maintenance. Quite a hard word to write.
I mean, you picked it.
Yeah, I did. Maintenance action.
Could have done m.action, but then what is m?
It needs to be descriptive. So
regular maintenance action. Okay, and then the body.
Yes. So in the body we're going to put start, since that's what we chose.
And it doesn't matter the case because we made sure.
have indeed make sure in our script that it doesn't matter. And then the authentication. So this is the important part.
Right.
We need to add a bearer token. So you can see in the drop down, there's a few different ways of authentication. In this case, with the token, it's bearer authentication. And then we need our token here. I'm going to use Teams to transfer this token to myself. And here I can paste it. So I can paste the secret and hopefully it's the right one. There we go.
And I suppose, what do you do with response handling? So we're going to get something back, eh?
Yes, by default, within this app, it will show you a pop-up with the response. So this is exactly what we want. We want to be informed of what's going on.
So we're done?
The only thing that still need to be done, I believe, is specific for our system because the HTTPS certificate is kind of signed by, not by an authority. We need to disable the verification, so the host verification.
Right.
I assume for most systems that are kind of already deployed with
the correct verification. Okay.
So that should be fine.
Start maintenance.
So we can save it at the top right, so we can see our start maintenance here, and let's maybe also duplicate it again.
Yeah, because we want to stop as well. Huh?
Yeah, indeed, for our stop. So I can remove the copy here and change the name so it contains stop. And then the only thing that we need to change is the body. So the secret is the same because it's also the same API. So we go to body and then change this to stop. Oh, I made a little typo there.
Did you? An enter.
I added an enter too much. Probably could already complain about that.
Okay. So we've got the start and stop. So I suppose that's pretty much ready then.
Yes.
So, okay. Theoretically. When now I click that button to start maintenance, we should see the elements mask and we should see the status for the modulator go to sending, and we should see this little light here turn on.
Yes, I'm setting up the view so we can easily see this. So here we see the modulator transmit.
Wow, okay, drum roll. I'm excited.
Okay.
This is gonna work for, so
it's now sending the start, so normally the light should go on.
We are executing, so execute it.
Okay, so we see that the modulator is enabled, the light is on.
Perfect, okay.
And also we get the message on my phone.
Yeah, and literally one of those shortcuts, it's called shortcuts, so you can put them like literally on the home page of your...
I can actually show that as well. So if we go back...
Actually, maybe put the stop one on there.
Yes.
And then afterwards we can
I believe you can click here and
Place
then
on
home screen. There we go. So if I go back to my home screen, you can see the stop.
Yeah, and then now when I'm like, okay, I'm going to push that button, so I'm going to click it now. So it's executing.
So the one you should see, the modulator transmitter is disabled,
right, and
the alarms are back, and the light is off. So exactly what we wanted.
So that's awesome, because now you've got a way to really, really quickly just grab your phone, do a whole bunch of complex actions on your DataMiner. It doesn't take any loading of any apps. It doesn't take any time at all. You're good to go.
Yeah, and we only made this in only a few minutes. So it's quite straightforward to do. It's quite easy to deploy or make your API available to everyone out there.
I'm really glad you took some time, man, to help us out and figure this out as the expert here. It's great to see this in action. For the people who did follow along up to a point, of course, you won't have the elements and stuff, but feel free to maybe like grab a screenshot of your user-defined API, your automation script, and if you mail that to thunder@skyline.be, we'll actually give you some DevOps points. So it's like a reward for actually doing the actions, because if you do something, you generally learn it a lot quicker. So that's also the reason why we did this, if you follow along. So that's great.
We're very eager to see what you guys are going to create with this, your use cases within the business.
Even better, like if you've got an actual use case where you're making this and using this, that would be amazing. So you can send that as well. Send it to thunder@skyline.be, and then maybe I'll go through it in the next bringing the Thunder and actually tell some people like, hey, we've got some users out there who are really active in this and they've been using this as well for A, B, and C. So
that would be very nice.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
It was a pleasure.
For your time. And thank you as well for following along with us. I hope you had fun and I hope it was informative. So I guess I'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.